Joining me right now is Fox News military analyst General Jack Keane. General, it's good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, good to see you, Marie.
Such a horrible and just a terrible story. The U.S. is demanding the release now of 3 other Americans currently being held in North Korea. Your reaction to Otto Warmbier passing away now after being tortured, obviously, coming home in a vegetative state?
Well, there's no doubt that the North Koreans are responsible for murdering Otto, that's for sure. And that heartfelt message that the family provided yesterday was really quite extraordinary and certainly revealing in the sense they talked about him being tortured. Their doctors are obviously have some sense of what's happening. An autopsy will confirm what actually happened. But something went wrong here for the North Koreans because, you know, they imprison, torture, kill, and starve their own people. What they do with Americans is they take them hostage and they use them as bargaining chips until some prominent American comes forward as wanting to negotiate with them, like a Bill Clinton or a Bill Richardson. So what happened here? How did this take place? They lost the leverage that they use hostages for to establish some legitimacy for the regime. And I think the other 3, certainly, the president's doing the right thing in demanding their release. I think what this will do for us here is strengthen our resolve, our determination, our commitment to deal with this North Korean problem once and for all. I believe the president is already there, but I think this will just add to his determination to deal with it.
Should the U.S. be responding to this? What should the U.S. do at this point? And basically, just to be clear, what you're saying is they had him in prison. They were obviously drugging him. When they realized that he was in a vegetative state, they said, "Okay, we're losing our leverage. We can send him home."
Yeah, they didn't want him to die there. That's for sure. And it's out of the pattern of what they normally do. We don't know the facts yet. Should the U.S. do anything about this, General? We're not going to take any immediate action with North Korea. What we have done is we have laddered the football to China to see if they can use economic pressure on North Korea to denuclearize. That will take some time. Most of us looking at that, and I'm sure the administration also has a healthy dose of skepticism about whether China is genuinely sincere about doing this. We'll have to see, and we'll have to wait to see that happen. Yeah. I think at some point, here's where I think we're going to wind up. China's not going to do it. We're going to have to really get tough with North Korea on sanctions. I think we'll probably have to provide some sanctions against China for the first time. I think we have to have a get-tough policy with China when it comes to the Asia-Pacific and what they're doing in terms of trampling our interests and also our allies' interests. I think we're kind of on a collision course with North Korea and also with China. Wow, that's important. That's going to be an important day when, in fact, the U.S. makes a decision to put sanctions against China as well. Let me switch gears, get your take on this latest surrounding the USS Fitzgerald's collision with a container ship. That happened this weekend off the coast of Japan. Investigators are looking into several aspects of this crash, including why it took the crew of the civilian vessel almost an hour to report the incident. How does this happen, General? Well, I don't know what they were doing on board, what kind of emergency situation they may have had. They have very small crews on that ship, but, you know, making a radio call isn't a big deal. And certainly our warship had the hands full. You know, the things that were knocked out were the berthing areas for the crew. The radio communication was knocked out, and also, interesting, the captain's quarters was sitting on top of all of that. So it's understandable our crew was fighting for their lives and trying to make sure, you know, you have a warship, and it demonstrates, you know, the instruments of war, like a warship, is as dangerous in peacetime as it is in war. Sitting on that ship, as we know, not on that commercial ship, but sitting on that warship is incredible amount of missiles and explosive munitions. And if a fire broke out on that ship, that thing could really have turned into an incredible tragedy. So fortunate that that crew was as brave as they are, battled that situation, and took control of it. Well, any other issues that will come as a result of this? Because people are scratching their heads saying, how does this happen? Well, the Navy's not saying it publicly, but the Navy is not going to stand for our ship at sea not being able to evade an oncoming ship, if the oncoming ship made an unexpected U-turn like it did. The Navy has navigational devices, it has human beings that are alert and paying attention, and something failed on that ship that we did not take evasive action. The Navy will never excuse any of its vessels being hit by another vessel, regardless of who was at fault. Right. The Navy will hold that crew accountable for being able to evade that ship. That's the fact of it. They'll get to what caused it all, but at the end of the day, they're going to hold them accountable for it.
All right, we'll be watching that. General, always a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Good talking to you, Maria.
And to you, General Jack Keane, joining us there.